In today's video, I am going to make the case for quantity movement over quality movement. And for some of you, this is going to be the most important video for you on this channel. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara. I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel, we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, and mindset with the end goal of empowering you with as many tools as possible to take ownership of your rehab and your health, to live an overall more active, more mobile, pain-free, happier, healthier life. And today I'm going to make the argument for quantity movement over quality movement. So if you've been around for a while, you know that I am a huge proponent of quality movement. And why is that? It's because in the healthcare system, in particular stroke rehab, the pendulum has swung so far in the other direction that the guideline standard of practice for rehab for someone who has had a stroke is walk. Walk, walk, walk. Walk as fast as you can, walk as far as you can. Walking will decrease your risk of falls, and that is all most of you are doing in therapy every single day. And I think it's absolutely horrific that a lot of you have potential to restore normal movement, and all you're doing in therapy is walking. So that is kind of the main kind of inspiration or passion behind creating this video. Was there's a lot of you out there that do have potential to restore or normalize your movement patterns, and you're not working on that in therapy. Not only that, the evidence that they're using to suggest that someone who's had a stroke cannot restore normal movement is extremely low quality, poor research studies. Very weak research studies. And I think it's absolutely horrible that they're taking a very small amount of poorly designed research studies and they are applying it to everyone that's had a stroke. So yes, there are some studies out there that some people will not improve their function, their clinically meaningful function, by working on quality movement. And so now they just don't do it with anyone, which I think is absolutely so sad. So what I've done with this channel and what I think a lot of you have found very valuable is I do break skills down to help you to become a therapist. But to be clear, when I see someone in person, I do not give these lengthy explanations. And in fact, if you've been watching the channel for a while and you do come see me in person, ask anyone who's been in that situation, I will be the first to tell you to try and forget everything you've watched on YouTube, because that is not the most effective way to teach someone or to get someone to learn a new skill. But that's a little bit of a tangent. But now, to the point of this video, why do I think quantity movement, meaning yes, just work on walking as fast and as far as you can, is the right strategy for many of you? Well, it comes down to what we call implicit and explicit learning. I talked about it recently in a video that I made on Parkinson's disease. So if you watch that video, I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit, but when I was researching that video, it kind of took me down a rabbit hole. And I did find another video that really does support what I see clinically. And I think it's not getting enough attention. And I definitely have not given it any attention here on this channel. And that is explicit learning is when you tell someone how to move their body parts to perform a movement. So if it comes to walking, lift your leg, heel strike, push off. Those would be that would be a way of giving explicit cues for explicit learning. Someone has to think about those leg movements in order to make that task happen. Implicit learning is kind of like unconscious learning. So a great example of implicit learning is when you teach a child to ride a bike. You just get behind the bike, you push it until it gets up to a certain speed when you know physics is just going to take over and that bike's just going to stay upright. You don't tell the kid to pedal. You don't say push down, pull up, or anything like that. But now let's stick with that biking example for a second to really make my point clear. But if you were in your teen years and you were a cyclist that was racing, you might have a coach that would give you some of those cues as far as the push down, pull up, to make you more efficient, to make you faster. And you might implement those explicit cues and you might learn explicitly, and you might have noticed, if this was you when you were younger, that you actually biked faster and you won the race. Now, here's where the problem comes in. Let's fast forward to present, and maybe you are someone that's had a stroke or a brain injury. Your most recent memory of learning something could have been that stage where you are that cyclist, where your coach was giving those specific cues. Maybe it wasn't cycling, but maybe it was how you held a bat, your grip on a ball, or your dribble with basketball. Maybe you had a lot of explicit cues during those middle-aged years, middle teen 20 years, and it was very effective and it made you better at that sport. Unfortunately, for many of you, after a brain injury in adulthood, some very smart researchers and scientists have found that people lose the ability to learn explicitly. This becomes more dramatic with someone that has had damage to the right side of their brain, in my experience. The articles suggest it's more people that have more cognitive impairments, spatial awareness, judgment, neglect, pusher syndrome. If you have any of those other symptoms, your ability to learn explicitly is more impaired, and a better intervention is implicit learning. So that would be make someone safe, make sure they're not going to fall, and just tell someone to walk. So just something for some of you to think about, that breaking a skill down into all of its components for many of you is not going to be beneficial, and it's going to be extremely frustrating, and you're not going to get more comfortable with that movement when you're out in the community. In particular, if you get out into the community and now you're at a restaurant and you don't want to bump into anyone, well, you learned explicitly, meaning you had to learn about lift the leg, set the foot down, heel strike, push off. But another issue that we know goes along with someone that has cognitive impairments after a brain injury is you can't dual task as well. So maybe you don't recognize you can't dual task as well, and maybe on top of that, you don't recognize that you learned a skill explicitly. Now you're out in the community and your attention is divided and you can't do it, and it leads to a fall, or it leads to you feeling uncomfortable to the point where you just don't go back out into the community. So if that is you, or maybe you are someone who's already experienced that situation where you are uncomfortable when you're out in unfamiliar situations or you're out in crowds, you might want to start implementing some more implicit types of activities. Now, that is a little bit hard to do on your own. I would say the one way that I do it in therapy is I will set up challenges in an environment and make sure someone's safe and have them do it over and over and over again. I will put things in the environment unexpectedly so they can't predict what's going to happen, and have someone do that over and over and over again. Now, this is a little bit of a tangent, but it is super important. If you go to therapy and you are in a therapy clinic where you are harnessed to the ceiling and you're doing advanced balance activities, or you already can walk independently and you are harnessed to the ceiling, meaning you walked into the clinic and they put a harness on you, you know unconsciously that that harness is on you. There's nothing they can do to remove the thought in your brain that you know that harness is on you and you are going to behave differently. Now, why do therapists put a harness on you? One is because they can't give you undivided attention, and they want to make sure that you don't fall. So what do I mean by undivided attention? If you're giving someone a new task, if you're a therapist and I'm giving someone a new task, I have to hyper focus. I have to be one step ahead of the person in front of me, anticipate what they're going to do, watch them like a hawk, be very close to them, make sure that if any reaction is inappropriate or is going to lead to a fall, that I'm right there to catch them. And I will grade an activity, or I know how to grade an activity to make sure it's challenging enough that if they do lose their balance slightly, I've already assessed them and I know that that is the type of balance disturbance that they will be able to recover from to stay vertical. So I don't set up activities where someone's not going to lose their balance, but I've done all this thinking in the background to make sure that I've graded that activity appropriately, that that person can successfully complete that activity and build their confidence that if they had such a situation, that they would know how to react and not fall. You totally lose that ability to build your confidence the second someone puts a harness on you. Just things to keep in mind. There is a way to safely grade an activity. But back to implicit learning, absolutely walk, walk, walk. Try to forget about the keeping the knee bent, lifting the leg, heel strike. It's just not going to carry over into the real world. Now, again, with everything when I talk about this topic, there is nuance. Do I think you should abandon explicit learning completely? No, we're trying to rebuild your brain in every area, and you want to challenge it in the areas that are weaker. And so I think explicit learning can be beneficial. I just think it should be in a therapy setting. So what do I mean by that? When you're not in public and you're not actually trying to get from point A to point B, absolutely valuable to work on standing on your leg with your knee bent. One, it's going to keep all of the joints, the range of motion in your ankle, and it's going to keep normalizing that movement so that you feel that movement every day in a therapy setting to prevent a lot of the aches and pains that can progress down the road if you are someone that hyperextends your knee and keeps your foot pointed all the time. So I think as therapy, yes, doing things where you're breaking skills down has value in just overall body health, but I would not set up the expectation that you're doing that in therapy, that it's going to carry over into the real world, because I think it's just going to make you frustrated. If you are a caregiver, I kind of have the same advice, that I don't think it's going to carry over, and I think your family member is just going to get frustrated if you're giving them those explicit cues when they're just trying to have a good time out in the community, and maybe go back to more implicit and just let that family member walk and enjoy their outing. But I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload new videos. I enjoyed spending time with y'all today, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.